Right. So all is good. I see even some internal staff are joining us. That's great. And we're gonna start now. I'm gonna because one of the first people I saw with the webcam on was Mike Pollock. I'm going to invite Mike Pollock to the stage here. Mike, you are live. If you want to.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Thanks, Dallas. Hi, John.
Hi, Mike.
Nice to see everybody. Hello, Scott. It's always wonderful to talk to my Edsby friends.
Mike, before you start, here's how I want to do things with the session today. I want to, even as much as we know you, I want to get you to say your name. I want you to say who you're with, and I want you to tell us what you like most about Edsby.
And then sure, absolutely. So Mike Pollock, Technology Coordinator for Algoma District School Board. I've been part of the Edsby rollout for our district for a number of years, pretty much, well, for, I guess, 8 years, maybe even counting right now. I think probably what I like best about this, and I'm going to be very, very clear and blunt, is the personable nature of the people who we deal with. It's not always reality when you connect with a software vendor where you have people readily available for support and offering opportunities such as what we are doing right now. And I honestly mean that. I stand by that statement. Above and beyond any of the software capability right there, that personal aspect right there is the favorite thing that I enjoy.
Oh, thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. That's very touching.
It is.
On with your question.
Sure. It was one of those things when I was reading the notes for this opportunity, asking a question, bringing attention to something that maybe we had talked about before, something that is really taking off, which is a nice, pleasant surprise. Being able to use monitor groups within the platform, making access of the student panorama. Being able to use it appropriately for observations. The missing piece right now, I think that could really take us to the next level. And John, I know I sound a bit like a broken record, but that missing piece is we really believe that it would be most efficient if the information would come to us rather than having to look for it. And right now, when it comes to updates, notifications, populating recent activity from a student panorama, we have to go looking for it. Mm-hmm. And we are really hoping, and I guess the question is there any appetite for moving forward potentially for a built-in notification system for recent activity or updates to a student panorama to make monitor groups the most efficient use possible?
So let me just try and paraphrase what you're asking. So you're saying that for certain roles who have access to a monitor group, and for those who don't know on the call, a monitor group allows you to add a number of students in it, and sort of, it's also almost like you become the teacher for the people in that monitor group. It's like a pseudo class kind of, right? In the sense that you can, because you are restricted. If you're a teacher of a student, you can see more stuff. You can see the academic information on the panorama. So a monitor group allows you to do that. It also brings some stuff up into that level, right? So I think, I don't know if Bailey's on the call or not. That's one of the things that is in Frill, right? And we have been noticing it. Let me put it that way. Don't have any precise plans right now to work on that. However, because you brought it up, of course, and we do appreciate that, we will consider that for design. So I would go into the design phase. There's a number of ways you could do it. I think one is through notifications, but I think also I always feel that notifications are a secondary mechanism for getting information. There should be a primary mechanism, and that primary mechanism to me is the monitor group itself. So there should be a way of getting some kind of amalgamated feed or something inside the monitor group itself. Would be what I call the primary mechanism for viewing en masse updates and activity that's happening across the students in that monitor group. And then a secondary thing is, okay, so there's new stuff, right? So one is really where you're going to have a look at this cohort and what's going on. The notifications are all about new things that are arriving. So.
Exactly. And so even though you're describing it as secondary, and I know I'm not going to belabor the point and take a lot of your time with this, But again, probably the single biggest piece of feedback we get about this is we don't want to have to go looking to see if there are updates. If there are updates, we want a way to know so that we don't have to dig for the information.
Right, but what I'm saying is you could go into the monitor group and see all the new updates there across all the kids, and it's an alternate way of doing it, and maybe has some more power. However, we do have our system, our ideas system that you can access off of the menu on the right side at Edsby to suggest an idea. You don't have to suggest an idea. You can just jump into there and look at the existing ideas. I believe there's one on this very topic in there. And so if you're on the call and you want to upvote that idea. And Bailey and I review that on a regular basis. So that's the way to have, because I think it's a great idea, first of all. But we need, if everyone thinks it's a great idea, then it's an even better idea.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Dallas, just procedure. I understand there's other people. So is the procedure for me to stop talking and hang up and exit the call right now?
Yeah, I'm going to play off stage here, Mike, and make room for the next person. But hey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Also, if no one else wants to come up, then I guess you can come back.
Well, and the other thing is, I actually have something else that I was going to suggest you talk about because of this, some of the Panorama redesign stuff. But I think we should pass it back to Dallas so that we can get through other people waiting.
Yeah, I just want to respect that. We've got a few dozen people that signed up to ask questions here today, so let's move along.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm going to call on Will next from LHDSB. Will, welcome.
Hey, Will.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Again, like we did with Mike, I'm going to invite you to share your full name, who you're with, and what you like most about Edsby right up front.
Yeah, I'm Will Fredrickson. I'm from Lakehead District School Board, and I just am in the habit of putting LHDSB in my name because of all of our big Ontario-wide meetings that we have. So anyway, I'm the Delk person up here in Thunder Bay. And
what do you like most about Edsby?
Well, since I mentioned Ontario, I will say that I love the grade book in Edsby, and I love that it's so well designed in terms of growing success and a lot of the concepts from growing success that have been brought into the grade book. And when I'm at Edsby Fest and people are talking about redesigns and growing success gets mentioned when we're at these meetings, and I like that. So
yeah. I have a question. You go ahead with your question, but I have a question about growing success at the end after you've asked your question. Back to you. So.
And I think the frill idea that Mike was talking about is mine.
Well, there we go.
That's a big one for Lakehead. So I'll just add my vote.
Then.
Yeah. I'm just going to pick, we just rolled out Edsby to elementary this year. We've been using it in secondary for many years and started with elementary this year. And we have found that we have a lot of classrooms with co-teachers. So either classrooms that have two actual teachers or an ECE teacher combination. And they've been hacking Edsby to find ways to create themselves as one unit. So renaming themselves, I would rename myself Mr. Fredrickson Ashbury or something like that to make it so that parents can only message, the group of them together. Or if you have a broadcast message to the parents, you want it to be from both of the teachers of the class. And that extends into parent-teacher interviews as well. We would like to figure out a way to have two teachers in a parent-teacher interview as a team, rather than the lead teacher being the one that shows up for parents when they go to book the interviews. Absolute solid gold. The parent-teacher interview process this year, rolling that out to both our elementary and secondary. People have loved it. Parents have loved it. The hiccup has been with when there's co-teachers in a class.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
it's
like blended teachers, like we have blended classes.
And we do have several teachers who have renamed themselves in the profile page, and And that's not an ideal solution to those situations
No.
where they want to send out a broadcast message, or they want to send a group message between, the stakeholders for the student they're talking about. And I've seen in Frill as well, there's somewhere it's like we want to add someone to a group message so they can see the thread, things like that. Just dealing with multiple teachers a bit better.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things here. There may be some changes we can just make to parent-teacher interviews in that case, just to handle this case better. I imagine that's probably true. I think we have to go. I think the trick here is to go through every case that you're talking about here, because there's broadcasts, there's parent-teacher interviews, there's report cards, there's evidence of learning stuff to go through to see what. Because I think it may be that we have to put what I call policy, controls around things, depending on what you want it to do. Is one of these teachers a primary teacher? Is one a second primary? That's wrong word. The main teacher, and one of them is not so main. Or are they essentially equals?
A unit.
Yeah. So I don't know if we'd make them a unit, but having. Anyway, so to working out the detail, I think the devil here is in the details. Is there a frill? This is kind of a bit new to me, to be honest, and I'm pretty familiar with most of the feature requests, but I don't remember seeing this one in frill.
I think I added one in the last few weeks. It's been
okay.
We piloted the interviews in a few schools in the fall interviews, and then rolled it out to a bunch more this year, and this is when it came up.
I imagine doing the PTI part is fairly straightforward. I think there's it's fairly constrained on what it does and how that works. It's catching all of the other cases, but if there's a frill, so for others on the call, I guess perhaps I don't want to do this for every single question, but certainly upvote the things if you think that's an important.
John, maybe you might share with people what frill is again if they don't know it by name.
Oh, so I apologize. Yeah, so frill is the idea management system we use. I'm not sure if you see that I don't know if you see that anywhere. We use that. It's a third party that basically provides this ability to suggest ideas and then for you to have a discussion and vote things up. And you access it by going to Edsby. I think it's the question mark, and underneath there, it's suggest a feature. You don't actually have to suggest a feature. You can just click on the ideas thing when it drops down, and it will take you automatically in. And then
you have to be on a desktop browser. It doesn't work on mobile.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But I think the other key is that this is feedback that is really valuable to us. It's one of the ways that we make decisions on product direction. So, one of the things, Johnny's being a little bit modest here, but he is the gatekeeper of the stuff that gets done. And the frill feedback channel is really, really, really important to you, Johnny, I know. So for everybody listening, if you wonder if there's a human at the end of those, yes, very much so. We look at this information and we appreciate the feedback that we get from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And
before we wrap up, Johnny, can you ask your question about growing success?
Yeah, I want to ask this.
Back to the next questions, but growing success, you want to ask about it.
So growing for success. Okay, growing for success. Yes, we've looked at that. Obviously, we looked at that back when we started, which is embarrassingly 15 years ago now. And so that document is getting a little tired and a little old from the Ministry of Ontario. There's this book sitting on my desk under a big pile of other books. This one, which you may or may not be familiar with Damien Cooper with Jeff Catania, called Rebooting Assessment, which I think is an interesting. I think this is suggesting a direction in Ontario. They're from Halton, I think, or we're from Halton. I think they're both retired now. I do think there's going to be a reboot of growing for
I've heard that too. Yeah.
And I suspect, and I don't want to just be touting our destinations product. I think it's going to go more in that direction, competencies and outcomes, but still, having some of the same stuff as that's in there. It's going to be some of an amalgam, because I think Ontario is a little behind, other places out west and other places in the world. And partly that document, the Growing Success, has lasted an awful long time. There was the kindergarten addendum that came in about 3 years after it was. I think it was released in 2010 or 2009, even around there, right? So we are. Anyone who has any information on what the next stuff is coming down from the ministry, I imagine that's going to change. Because of course, we will have to adapt and modify Edsby to support that well. But I do think we may have a little leg up on that, because I think it will go more towards outcomes-based education. But I could be wrong. It could be just wishful thinking.
So if anyone has any info,
Yeah.
if you have any ins with the ministry. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Will.
Thanks.
Cheers. I'm going to now throw the stage open to the next question. And if you haven't yet enabled your webcam, turn on your webcam. That's the signal to me that you are available and ready to ask a question. I see a handful of people waiting in the wings, but no webcams on. So I don't know who to call on.
Well, I could ask Johnny a question.
Oh,
well, no. So what I was going to say, Johnny, is maybe you should talk a little bit. We had the question earlier about the Panorama. We're also considering some redesigns in general in the Panorama, and you might want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think so. Panorama, really, the purpose of the Panorama is to give you sort of a bird's eye overview, hence the name Panorama, of one student. It's really, everything, we used to call it, back in the day, we used to call it the wall on Joey, because, Facebook back in the beginning had a wall. And so that was kind of the concept originally. Of course, we've added an awful lot of different kinds of data and whatnot to that over the years. And I think sometimes you keep adding stuff, and eventually you say, okay, well, we need to reorganize this thing a fair bit. The other thing that's happening is we're generating more data in lots of places, and not all of it surfaces on the Panorama. So things like and the ability to sort, because the Panorama is for the most part a stream of consciousness, right? It is what's happened the most recently. It doesn't necessarily give you if there's a lot of data on there, an overview aggregation of some of that stuff. So and you tend to have to click here and there. If I want to see attendance, I got to click here. So we're kind of looking at kind of a holistic redesign of that. It's sort of in the works. And of course, and I'll mention destinations and competencies again. They will produce a lot of data that will surface there, specific to one student. Of course, when you're talking about an entire school of students, or perhaps the grade 7 in math, for example, that's a different story, but it's a similar data set underneath it.
That all makes sense. Cool.
Johnny, thanks. I've got more people joining, waiting in the wings, waiting to ask questions. And a reminder to those who can hear me that if you throw on your webcam, that's a signal to me that you are ready and available to ask a question. So I'm going to call on now Denise, who just joined us. Denise, welcome. You are the next contestant on.
The price is right.
But before I ask you your question, I wanted to invite you, like the other people that have been joining us here, to please share your name, who you're with, and before your question, what you like most about Edsby.
Oh, you're muted. There we go.
All right. So my name is Denise Cook. I'm with Mednet Public School Division, and I have just started in a new position of SIS. I am taking over from Karen Sparks. So I'm new to Edsby.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, welcome.
What do you like most about it so far?
Welcome.
It's from what I hear from parents and teachers and stuff, they like Edsby, so that's good. But I really can't tell you much more about it because I've only been here for a short time. So I've been with the division for a long time.
Next time you can ask us.
Exactly.
Don't worry.
Exactly. So I actually didn't even have a question. I didn't realize that as soon as I put my webcam on, that boom, I was.
Well, it's
here.
Okay. Well,
now
we're
everybody
glad,
knows who I am. So
we're glad that you did. Well, thanks.
We do. Thank you very much. And actually, we do have a little bit of stuff for you, even though you haven't asked a question. So you guys are using PowerSchool, is that right?
correct.
Yeah, so one of the exciting things we've done, which actually just went live in production I believe on Friday of last week, is we've moved our PowerSchool integration, or we have built a new PowerSchool integration using the PowerSchool plugin technology. And that gives us more reliable, easier syncing with PowerSchool. We're a PowerSchool, it's an approved PowerSchool plugin. We're a PowerSchool partner now, and we're going to be helping all of our customers transition probably over the summer. There's no urgency on it, but it's certainly going to make your life easier.
Okay, well, that's good to know. My lead of infrastructure and operations, we just had so that's kind of the department that I was in before, had a meeting this morning and we were just talking about that. So that's really good. I'll have to let him know that.
There you go. Yes, right now you have to run a
Yes.
Edsby link and a VPN and blah blah blah. Yeah, all that goes out the window, and we talk directly to PowerSchool server. You put a little plug-in on, takes you 30 seconds, and Bob's your uncle.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know.
There you go.
Thank you.
And everyone now has turned off their camera.
That's right. Yeah,
Look what I did.
Dallas is
Look
on
what
the
I
hunt.
did.
If there's nothing else, Denise, we're happy to free up the slot for somebody else.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, Denise.
So a reminder, if you throw on your webcam, that means you're interested in asking a question. And I'd be delighted to call on you. Scott, any other questions you want to throw Johnny's way while we wait?
Well, I mean, I don't know. How's the maple syrup running, Johnny?
That's right.
That's a good question. The maple syrup, it ran last week for about a day when things warm, but it's been too warm. It's for those who do maple syruping, when you tap the tree, you want -5 in the nighttime and about +5 in the day. You need that cycling before the sap runs. If it stays warm or it stays cold, it doesn't run. So, but however, once you've tapped the tree, we got about 30 gallons from 16 trees in basically a day or so. And we've got to boil it down probably tomorrow because it goes bad. It ferments.
There you go.
To bring things back to Edsby while we wait for the next person to enable their webcam, let me ask if you guys are in a position to talk about the future of AI in Edsby. So we've shipped this teacher assistant. What's next for AI with Edsby?
That's interesting you asked that, and I almost prepared a slide, but I think we'll try and stay away from slides for the most part. I've been working on a little bit, so lots we did ship the thing called the AI assistant, which, to be honest, everyone in the industry has shipped an AI assistant of forms, which largely is a wrapper to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. We do think we have a few nice little features in there that actually make it easier to use than just basically copying and pasting, and safer, in fact, than just copying and pasting. And particularly, I would say in the area of the report card part, where it's a fairly simple, point form to prose kind of an idea, which I think there's actually value in that. It's just you're doing a lot of report cards, you're all stressed out, there's a deadline. Helping them write a reasonable comment is something. It's a small thing, but it's a small thing, but it helps because they are stressed. Secondly, the same for in the content builder. If you're not familiar with this, you can select units and with a whole set of documents, and you can build summaries and quizzes off of those. Those are the two things. We did that last year, right? What we've actually and now internally in Edsby, we're starting to use AI quite a bit to help deliver a better, safer, more secure experience, for the product, and also quicker, higher velocity. We might talk a little bit about that if someone asks a question about roadmap, then I can talk a little bit about some of the things that are up and coming. But we do think it will speed up our ability to deliver a lot of the things that you're asking for. But that's really about how we're using it internally. I am working on a bit of a almost like a code of ethics for the AI stuff, which I don't have on my screen, so I was going to do it from my head. However, that's not such a bad thing because maybe that will help cement it. Things such as AI in Edsby should be a tool that you can use that actually reduces busy work. right? So teachers do work that they don't particularly like to do. And it's not about teaching. It's not about that interaction with the kid. It's not about formative assessment or any form of assessment for that. Right? It's not about building necessarily, stuff that is, pedagogical material for the kids. It's kind of, filling out forms, for example, and doing things that are not. So they're just tedious and repetitive and manual. So that's kind of going to be our focus going forward. But the other is, I think this is really important. There's a lot. You're all familiar with what I call and what others call AI slop, right? AI can produce vast tomes of text content, right? Which we all beautifully grammatically correct text and possibly wrong, right? Or it's just laborious. It's just too much to read. You're overwhelmed by its content. So, I've as part of the code of ethics, really, it's let's not make AI slop. Let's not make this stuff which is, has not much value, right? It's just verboseness. Another one related to that, though, is don't hallucinate. Now, this is tricky because LLMs do hallucinate, particularly when the training data that they were trained on is sparse, right? That's when they hallucinate, and you ask it to sort of invent things out of the thin air, and it confidently suggests something that's not true, right? That's not good, right? So one of our approaches to that is to always try to process data as opposed to, see, it's called generative AI, but it's not purely generative, right? You can give it content, you can give it documents, you can give it curriculum, and you can give it things that we know this is what we want you to base stuff on. Don't just invent it out of thin air. So that's another approach. Yes,
I
Don.
invite you to wrap up, John, because we've got more people joining us.
All right.
Turning the webcams, anxious to ask questions. I want to move on to the next thing, but is there any last point you want to make about AI, particularly with respect to destinations, say?
Thank you for the prompting there, Dallas. Yes, so Destinations has a feature that's coming out shortly that helps you write your destinations in student-friendly language. So typically, curriculum is often written in sort of it's designed for teachers.
Language.
Well, it's designed for teachers to the icons. So anyway, both the outcome itself can be rewritten simply by clicking a button and having it do. You can sort of work on it and improve it iteratively. Secondly, the same thing is true as for success criteria. So it can help generate success criteria, and it will generate a bunch. You can keep pushing it and generate more. You can delete them. You can edit them. You can muck around with them. So that's kind of a nice little. It's another teacher-friendly feature. It's not replacing the teacher. It is helping the teacher.
Thank you. If you're waiting in the wings and you haven't been called on yet, turn on your webcam. That's a sign to me that you are ready and waiting to ask a question. I'm going to now bring to the stage a live webcam with Stephanie. Stephanie, welcome.
Hello,
Hi,
Stephanie.
thanks.
Hi, Stephanie.
Before you get
Good
to
to
ask
see
a
you,
question,
everybody.
I'm going to ask you to do the
Pardon
same
me?
thing that everybody else has been doing, which is, first of all, share your name, share who you're with, and share what you like most about Edsby.
So my name is Stephanie Pipke-Painshow. I am with the Northeast School Division as a coordinator of learning, and I help to look after Edsby and assessment and a number of other things. And one of the things that we love about Edsby is recently we've been able to upload our own curriculum. So we find that exciting because we can make changes quickly and get those uploaded. We also really love the evidence feature. So one of the things that we're working on in assessment is balanced assessment and different ways to gather evidence of learning. So we're looking at all of the different tools. So we have teachers that are excited to explore artboards is one of the new features that came out this fall, and engaging the students in those in different ways. And so with that, we also really like the new activities feature because that pops up right at the top of the learning story, which is really handy for our students, quick and easy to look at. And it also means that you can kind of template all of that evidence that goes out, and then comments are private back between the students and the teacher and the parents. So we really like those features, among lots of other features.
Thank you. What do you want to ask here today?
well, we're exploring destinations. So I guess if you kind of already led into it right before with some of the things that are coming up in destinations. So I guess anything on the radar for destinations, and then you had mentioned forms. So I was going to ask one other question about forms.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks, Stephanie, for the question. And we do love the fact that you've got Edsby behind. He's peeking out from behind.
Oh,
See
he
that?
is.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is awesome. Okay, so destinations, yes. Are you asking what's in the roadmap for destinations? What's new? What's coming?
Yes, kind of what's ahead looking for us, because it's just in beta currently.
Lots of stuff is coming. We are currently focused on what I would call the teacher, student, parent triangle. Okay, right now we want to hone and perfect that in destinations first. So for those who don't know, destinations is really a way. It is a tool to track evidence and success criteria, and the attainment of success criteria, and the attainment of the overall outcome across a set of students within a class. It really is a strong supporter of formative assessment. So there's a conversation that's happening, and in fact, supporting different ways of assessing too. So typically, we have focused in the past on product. The essay you wrote, the project you did, the quiz you wrote. And that's really all about the product, the final thing, and whether or not that could be formative or it could be summative, but it's often summative. But you could also have conversations and observations, and which are different form. And I think particularly in this world of AI, where the product no longer is necessarily trustworthy. In other words, it may have been generated. The essay is highly likely that ChatGPT was used to make that essay. And I know there was an article a few months ago about someone had trained an AI to actually go onto the LMS website and actually do the quiz, reading the quiz questions. And now, whoever did that, whichever student figured that out, they're brilliant, and they definitely deserve some outcomes, but it wasn't around, perhaps the subject material at hand. Anyway, so destinations. Data flows from gradebook and evidence into destinations. And anyway, that's what we're focused on right now. Okay. That generates all kinds of interesting data that I alluded to earlier. And we've got data at the evidence level. We've got data at the success criteria. Have you attained? Kids can make a claim. It says I can, arrange, group the variables onto one side of the equation or whatever, or do order of operations or whatever. They can make that claim, and the teacher can choose whether or not they want to agree. They can supply evidence for that. So this generates lots of data, and it also generates attainment data. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have ways to look at that data. We're in sort of final design stages for looking at that data, for one kid at a time, and even over the course of multiple years. Now, initially, we only have the first year since it's a new product, but over time, you'll be able to see this, the progress of learning over time, which is cool. The second thing, and by the way, that works for different roles, principal role, for district role, and there's different things that you want to ask, right? Principals are going to ask different questions than the teachers, and the district people can ask different questions too. But it all is around that same data set. The other thing that we have been working on, as Scott has been doing a lot of demos, and by the way, if you want Scott to demo Learning Destinations, reach out to us and we will. I think there's a sign-up place.
There is.
Maybe you can put that in the sidebar.
I am going to put that in the sidebar
if
right
you want Scott to give you a
now.
personal and private and wonderful demo, not just demo, presentation about what Destinations is and the value of it, then definitely sign up for that. So as he has been doing that, and we've delivered that to many different both customers, prospective customers, and also authors and influencers. As I said, I got a stack of books here, and I think you've probably given that talk to many of them. We've gotten a ton of great feedback from them. It seems to be resonating. So one of the things, the bits of feedback we've gotten is, hey, this is really great. We like it, but can it do competencies? So we're digging into competencies too. Another word for competency sometimes used is portrait of a graduate. But almost every school board out, whether it's Ontario, Saskatchewan, or anywhere else in the world, has often an older name for it. So in Ontario, we have learning skills and work habits, which are really a set of skills or characteristics that we want for the student that is cross-curricular. It's
multi-year as well.
And multi-year, right? So and sometimes this is reported on, sometimes it's not. It's not necessarily all about the reporting, but it's what we want is at the end of grade 12, we want kids who are collaborative, who can think critically, who can communicate well. They're good digital citizens. There's a set of these common competencies, a relatively finite set, I would say, typically between 5 and maybe a dozen at most, and there's kind of 7 that are very, very, very common. Anyway, so we're working on that. It's similar to Destinations, but different. But we're going to bundle it with the Destinations part. At least that's the current thinking, and the evidence system will flow in. So the concept is that you'll have demonstrations of competency, and so if Joey, for example, frequently shows that he works collaboratively within his group, that could be on the basketball team, it could be in the science class, it could be in drama, whatever, because they all can contribute to these demonstration of competency. Am I going on too long, Dallas?
Oh, I want to invite Scott as product owner here in the company to augment with anything you might want to say about this.
All right, I'll be quiet for a bit. This is role reversal.
He always says that. He always blames me. Okay,
I'm the quiet one.
Okay, there's a couple things actually. First of all, the first thing has sort of nothing to do with Destinations. I want to come back to what Stephanie said at the very beginning, that she'd been loading her curriculum. I'm actually, Johnny's the product guy. I'm kind of the back end data guy in addition to doing Destinations. One of the things that I really want to emphasize is that managing curricula has always been very difficult, because if you think about it, it's kind of like a document with a complicated table of contents, and everybody does it in a different way. One of the fantastic things that's happened over the last couple of years is the emergence of a standard called CASE, which stands for, I can't even remember, but anyhow, it doesn't really matter. There is a standard called CASE, and it is a standard for sharing and publishing curricula. And the really good news is that there's a company called Common Good Learning Tools, and they've built a product called Satchel. And I am going to put the link in the chat, and you guys will want to take a look at it. And the fantastic thing about Satchel is it's a tool, just like Word is built for editing documents and PowerPoint is built for editing presentations. Satchel is a tool which has been built for editing curricula. It is fantastic. And the other thing which is really great is that we have a tool in Edsby that imports Satchel curricula. So if you want to do custom curriculum, this is absolutely the way to do it. It's fantastic. You can buy it directly from them, but we actually resell it. It's an even better deal if you buy it from us. So little pitch there. In terms of the rest of the destination stuff, one of the things, we got a couple really exciting things happening. First of all, obviously we're rolling out in beta, and we have a limited number of slots available for people who want to get on the early access program. If you're interested, absolutely send me an email, scott@edsby.com. That's number one. Number two, the other thing we've got is we have a new demo environment coming out. So one of the things people have always asked us for is they often want to sort of play around with Edsby, but there's no easy way to do it, right? You can't exactly go in and muck around in your production server. And the problem with sandbox servers is that they often have all the kids and everything in there, but no data. And sometimes with things like Destinations, you want to go in and kick the tires on a server that's kind of a complete server. But the other thing is, you don't want to mess it up to the point where you can't then use it tomorrow. So we actually have some new technology that is allowing us to build demo servers that actually reset. So you could say to us, hey, I'd like to, go and maybe have a training class, but then tomorrow morning I want it to be fresh and new, just as if we hadn't been there. And so we have some new technology that allows us to do that. So if anybody on the call would like access to a Destinations sandbox where they could go in and play around and have it be fresh and new the next day, again, just send an email to scott@edsby.com. We'd be happy to help you with that.
I'm going to wrap it up at that for this question. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to now give somebody else the opportunity to
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Bye-bye.
Let's see, the people watching on Facebook, a note to you, if you're watching on Facebook, that you can, in fact, join us. We've got a few extra slots now in the backstage room here on StreamYard. So click that StreamYard link from the emails we sent you to be able to join us if you're watching on Facebook. I see that Will rejoined us from LHDSB. And Will, if you wanted to ask another question, I see you here in the background. Just turn on your webcam and I'll throw you on. Will is back.
Cool.
Hi.
Welcome back, Will.
Well, thank you very much for having me again. I'll have to tell you my second favorite thing about Edsby.
Go for it.
Honestly, the parent-teacher interview scheduler was like, people were effusive. Like the parents were just, they just couldn't believe how much better it was than all the old systems that we used. So just because it's on my mind and we have interviews tomorrow night and last week, I'll say that.
We'll pass that on to the those that care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's the process for parents, it's just they're tap and they pick their, so
yeah.
And I had some questions about the app, both the Capture app and the Edsby app. Find partly one of the complaints from teachers in particular is not being able to cross post. We have a lot of split classes, and not being able to cross post to two classes from the app has
From
been
the app. Okay, right, that's a good one.
because the app doesn't support landscape. If you use the website on your phone, it does support landscape, so you can find the little cross post. So I know it's there.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
but
All right. That sounds like an easy
it's not
fix.
exposed.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'll make a note of that.
and the other, I guess because the app, the notifications in the app are a little bit awkward. They don't quite work the way a typical app notifications work, where you tap on it and it takes you directly to whatever that thing was. It takes you to Edsby, but it doesn't necessarily take you to the thing that you tapped on the screen. I know there are some frill things on. They're pretty vague, like just make the app better.
Better.
None of them are mine, but I've seen a few of them in there. They've been consolidated, I think.
Okay.
Into.
I don't know. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, and the other one is the Capture app. So I updated my Capture app when the recent, I think it's about 3 or 4 months ago, the update came out that supported artboards. But from what I can tell, it still doesn't support artboards. So I don't know what, if I'm doing something wrong. It's been a little bit since I checked, but every time I look at the release notes, it still just says 3 months ago or 4 months ago.
You have the latest and greatest?
It's whatever it was last updated.
Okay.
I think it's 3 months ago, 4 months ago now.
All right.
But it looks exactly like the old.
It shouldn't. Okay. All right. Let's, I can't answer you this very second, but we'll get on top of that. I made a note for that.
Okay. Yeah, I have I think I submitted.
It should. I was pushing for that in the fall. So unless, yes. And that's on iOS and Android?
I didn't check on Android.
Okay.
And people haven't been bothering me about it, so I didn't look. But
okay.
I think I submitted. I submitted a like a bug report on in late November, and I think it basically just said we'll look into it or something.
We were late. I know we were late at releasing. I had wanted to get the artboards and activity stuff out at the beginning of September, and it didn't get out for a while. And I can't remember exactly the date that it was supposed to go out. I believe it was in October or November. But we will get back to you on that.
I got the update at that time, and the release notes in the App Store say it supports artboards, but from what I could tell, unless I'm doing something wrong, it's
okay.
Yeah. So if I got 2 questions, those are my 2 questions.
All right.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah. Okay.
On to the next. If you are watching us on Facebook, click on the StreamYard link. You'll be able to join us here on the backstage of StreamYard. We'll bring you up to the stage if you throw on your webcam and ask you a question. You'll ask us a question. While we are waiting, I wanted to ask guys if you might speak to multi-language support in Edsby. So I think the last time I looked at our list of languages, we were up to something like 57 languages. Of course, that's the Edsby UI being available in 57 languages. Speak for you, if you could, about the current state of language and content translation and multi-language support in Edsby beyond the 57 languages that were translated into.
Maybe I'll let Scott go first, because I've been going first. So I'll let him go first, and then anything he misses, I will try and fill in.
Yeah. So very quickly, I mean, yeah, you're right, Dallas. The app is available in many different languages. Some of them machine translated, some of them human translated, because it's really important to us. So, for example, French and Georgian. People on the call might not know this, but we're actually doing a big deployment in Georgia, not in the state of Georgia, but actually the country of Georgia, home of Tbilisi, south of Russia. And that's very exciting. And that's so Edsby is entirely translated into Georgian. And the other thing that's really, really important is we have always built Edsby so that the content is completely multilingual. So we use technology that, of course, allows you to mix any number of character sets. And so when you build content in Edsby, it can be in English and French. But we actually have customers who use it with syllabics, for example, in Nunavut. It's really very powerful. Anyhow, Johnny, over to you.
Yeah, so I think there are different aspects of language translation. There is the actual, the user interface, all of the buttons and, titles and things, what we call really the static text of Edsby. And that, as what Scott was just talking about there, is that kind of being able to select your language or use what we call browser steering, where the browser, if it's running in a particular language, will deliver the user interface in that language. The other aspect that we've been asked to do is translating content into a language. So if someone messages you, or you're reading, say, a group or a class feed, for example, and translate it in that. And we have items that are requesting to do that. Now, we're probably a little bit slow, and by being a bit slow, we might not need to do it anymore, because there's a new wave of technology in the browser that is kind of going to do this almost automatically. I know that Google, the new versions of Google Chrome, have both AI and translation. Of course, for those familiar with the LLMs that AI use, it come out largely of the fact Google worked on Google Translation. Large language model really is about translation in a sense, which is kind of why it works so well in the AIs can do that kind of thing. So we might not need to do it, but we'll see. It is one of the things that is kind of has been on the roadmap to do that, but we might not need to do it. Now, I think there is a third one which eludes my brain at the moment, and another thing that translation could involve. Do you think of one other case, Scott?
Well, if you think about the use cases of the users, parents, of course, seeking.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about when reading messages on the teacher. You translate it into Italian or whatever you're most familiar with, and I'm saying that the new wave of browsers is probably going to just do that automatically and even speak it to you audibly, etc. I think there is another case. I just can't. It's not on the tip of my head at the moment. So, yeah.
Let's move along. Again, a reminder that if you have a question for us, please turn on your webcam. That's the sign to me that I can pull you up on stage. While we wait, I wanted to invite both of you to share what we've been working on in terms of forms and workflows.
Oh,
I'm going to go for first here, John.
all right.
But not to talk about it.
Feel the
It was
thunder.
really interesting that Will talked about parent-teacher interviews. Because, you know, parent-teacher interviews are kind of an interesting case of a form. And I actually wanted to call that out because, you know, a lot of people think that forms are simple in the sense that, you know, how hard can it be? You fill in a form. But I think that the real power comes when you integrate a simple form like signing up for a parent-teacher with the intelligence that the Edsby
I
back.
have a hard time hearing you there, Scott.
Oh, you are? Sorry. That's strange. I'm not, you hearing me okay now?
I'm afraid your mic is failing.
Oh, no. That's not good. You know what? I have a spare mic right here. So what,
No,
Johnny,
actually, it's improved. I think you were mumbling a bit too.
Oh, okay. Anyhow, yeah, so I was going to say that one of the fantastic things is when you combine sort of the technology of forms with the knowledge that Edsby has about the school organizations. Parent-teacher interviews is a fantastic example of that, right? Where it's not just the form, it's the knowledge of about who teaches, which class, when they teach it, who the parents are. Putting those two things together is where the magic happens. Johnny.
Okay, so we actually built some form stuff last year, what I would call simple forms, but we've now built, we've both prototyped and built, and it's because there's 2 school boards who came to us last year and said, hey, could you do something in the area of field trip permissions form? That's kind of the laser focused use case that we're really looking at. And it is one of many use cases of forms, but beyond forms, this concept of a workflow. So a workflow is really where you take a form, and I'll describe the workflow in terms of the field trip permission workflow, because this is kind of how, you know, this is kind of the laser focused use case that we are sort of tasked with building, but it's not the only one we will be able to build out of a new forms and workflows technology within Edsby. And so it kind of goes like this. The gym teacher wants to propose that there's a trip to Snow Valley to go skiing, right? Ski, snowboarding, tubing, whatever. And so she fills out a form, which is the district official form, make sure that she checks off all, is this, you know, compliant with all of the things the insurance company wants us to make sure of, right number of supervisors, you know, is there costs involved and whatnot. That's the proposal phase. It goes to the principal, and the principal reads it and he makes checks off, blah, blah, blah. Oh, looks good. However, it's high risk because it's skiing, right? So that requires then he gets to sign it, and then that automatically routes, because it's high risk, to the superintendent. And the superintendent then reads it. Oh, okay, yeah, you've met all the requirements, blah, blah, blah. Superintendent signs it, okay? It then goes back to the school, it goes back to the office, and the office head there then does something else. There's another form, different form, okay? Some of the fields are common, so the name of and description and purpose of the field trip are on this new form, need to be copied across onto this new form. And this form then is distributed out to a certain audience. In the case of field trips, it's the parents of kids that might be going. So, you know, you've set up that it's going to the grade 7s and grade 8 classes, and therefore it has to go to the parents of each kid who is in grade 7. And so there's this virtual kind of meta roles, parents of kids who are in grade 7 kind of thing. Goes out there, it goes to all those, and they get to fill. Now, if you're familiar with, you know, I'm sure online banking or opening an account with your local branch, you now do that online, and you use DocuSign or something similar to that, to where you're putting in your signature and whatnot. So again, the parent looks through it, reads it. Now, it might be 2 parents involved, so you got to manage that. You know, what happens if they disagree? What happens if they, you know, one gets it before the other, etc. So there's some management there, but essentially it signs, it comes back to the office, and we're good. There might be some payments involved. We'll deal with that later. And then, of course, there's the day of the field trip, and the buses arrive at the school, the kids arrive at the school, the parents drop them off. And of course, kids have to get on the bus. Now, you want to make sure that only kids get on the bus if they sign the form, if they've paid, maybe some other criteria. And you want to make sure that you track who did get on the bus and who didn't get on the bus. And wouldn't it be great if there was a thing? Now, airlines do this. You're all familiar with boarding passes on airlines. Wouldn't it be great if the kids had a boarding pass that has with a QR code on it or something, where the bus captains for the 3 buses A, B, and C, kids get on the bus, they scan the boarding pass, they get on the bus, and we know who is on the bus. The office knows who's on the bus. It's very reliable, right? And you're not letting anyone on the bus who's not supposed to be on the bus, right?
Oh, and you can make sure everybody's on the bus coming home.
Well, that's right. And in fact, even at lunchtime, what we want to do is we want to do it so that you can have any number of checkpoints throughout the day to check if the kids, where are all the kids got the lunch, who's missing, who's gone off, who's gone AWOL. Multi-day trips, like trip to Quebec City, for example, that my kids all went on. That's a 3 or 4 day trip, right? You might have multiple check-ins that all the kids are in the room, at night, that kind of thing. And then, of course, as Scott said, you got to make sure that they come home, and some parents may pick them up. You got to manage that. So it's a complex workflow, but it's one that we really think we can do a great job on. And we have the experience in this because we built a registration system, which was kind of a very bespoke system. But it touched on many of these things around, summer school registration, payments, and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
and PPI is a simple example of this.
Right. So we're going to do a separate webinar in the upcoming weeks that goes into more detail with a demo. It is working. We've been working on this for a while. It is working, the feedback so far we've been getting, I think Scott did a little show last week, has been very positive. You want to talk a little bit more, Scott?
Well, I hate to tell you, Dallas, we've got to check to see if there's anyone with their camera on.
No, not at this time. So feel free to take the last couple of minutes of our hour here, because we are coming up to the top of the hour, just maybe to share a bit more about what we're doing, how we're productizing this, when it's coming.
Yeah. So this is one of the things that's kind of shocking because, I don't know if you noticed this, Johnny and I are not quite young men anymore. So my kids were in elementary school, I guess, 25 years ago, 20 years ago. Of course, every form was a paper form. And I remember at the time thinking as a software guy, well, that's a real pain in the butt, but I'm sure they'll get it right. Well, here we are, we're at the show, the Ontario Public School Administrators Association. And we asked what's that?
Last week.
We were there literally last Thursday and Friday, and every single one I said, what are you guys doing for forms? And they're like, paper, and it was shocking. And there's such an obvious inefficiency. I mean, first of all, just they get lost and they get missed, and kids go on field trips even though they shouldn't. And, insurance companies are looking at this really seriously. But not only that, I mean, it's one thing when I was obviously when my kids were going to school, I wasn't used to having a phone and stuff like that. Well, the fact of the matter is, I can book airlines and get a mortgage and everything else on my phone. Surely I could approve my kid's field trip. In fact, more to the point, if I've forgotten to approve my kid's field trip and the kid shows up at the bus, I mean, don't you think the teacher should be able to say, ding Scott and get him to approve it on his phone? Well, yeah, of course. So I think there's some really exciting stuff we could do here that's going to fit in really beautifully, not only with what we're doing in Edsby in general, but also with this idea of being a trusted partner at implementing tools that work across the district, making sure that we have equity across the district, that everybody is using the same forms the same way, doing the same approvals, getting the same check when you get on the bus. I think there's some real power that we can do there. Really quite exciting stuff. So
Yeah, and so I will say we have been working on this for a while. You know, the forms part last year, and we've been working on a lot of the concepts. We are way ahead of schedule, which is it's odd saying that. I don't think I've ever said that before. We're way ahead of schedule. So we are planning. You know, if you are interested in this, reach out to me, John, with an OH, or John with an H, or Scott, or Dallas, or Karen, and we'll set you up. We'll set you up with a demo and get you on the program. So we are hoping to ship this year, and full production in September certainly, but we'll be doing trials and pilots in Q2 of this year.
Last call for anybody who has a burning question they haven't had a chance to ask yet. All you have to do is flip on your webcam and I'll call on you. But if not, then let me start the long and arduous process of shutting down this session by pressing this red button. Last call. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks,
you guys,
for joining us, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
John Scott, appreciate the assistance, and in as much as we are